I saw a video yesterday on Treasies World, and in that video she talked about how she was sexually assaulted by her father when she was 10 years old. And I just wanted to respond to that video. I have a background of working with survivors of sexual violence and domestic violence, so it kind of touched me. She talked about how, this happened when she was 10 years old. Her biological father raped her, and how she stated she was damaged, that she was robbed of her childhood, and that all these years later she wanted to, talk about it, let someone know what happened to her. And I thought that was very brave of her to share her experience on a public platform. And she talked about how the person who abused her used actual facts against her so that he could perpetrate this crime against her, stating that, your mother is very strict and she doesn't play, and if you tell her, you are going to be in trouble. So she was terrified to tell her mother, what this person had done to her, and that she felt like she did something wrong and that it was her fault. And it was just upsetting to hear her say that. And I know that a lot of survivors, have similar stories and similar experiences with their perpetrators. I think that it is devastating and it is traumatizing to have any type of sexual offense perpetrated against your person. And I think that it is a crime that is lifelong. You are forever bound to that traumatic experience. And I think that the world doesn't understand it's not just something that happened and you move on. It's a part of your life each and every single day. It impacts every decision, choice that you make throughout your life. It literally changes the course of your life. And she talked about how she used her spiritual beliefs to help her deal with that traumatic experience, but it took her time to get to that point. So all those years as she was growing and developing and becoming a woman, it was altered. She talked about having 3 children with 3 different fathers and not knowing what love was, and struggling with that. I think that's very common with survivors of domestic abuse. A lot of people have self-destructive behaviors, drug and alcohol abuse, self-harm, decisions in life that cause harm, being with partners that perpetrate sexual and physical violence against them. All these things are related to that initial assault. And I think carrying that year after year is devastating. And I think that Treasie spoke about in the Black community how things were hush hush and you don't talk about it. But from my experience in work, I think that it's not just the Black community. I think it's all communities that had or have that mentality of don't talk about it. It's something to be ashamed of, embarrassed about. But it was a crime committed against you. And I, truly believe that anyone that has been perpetrated against by a sexual predator should tell their story. And when I say should tell your story, I don't mean, you have to go to your family members or your best friend, but I think that, finding a center that supports survivors of sexual violence would be a great option. I think that you could go to a place like that and you could speak in confidence without embarrassment or shame. You can be assured that whatever you say, you're not being judged or looked down upon, and that they're impartial, and that they are just truly there to listen and to support you and help you work through those experience and thoughts and the trauma of what you've been through. So I don't think it matters what race you are. I think you seek out a sexual violence center, you seek out a private therapist, and you get support and you talk about it. You know, talking about something and letting it out, it sounds simple, but it literally makes you feel so much better than holding that in year after year, you know, day after day. I think talking about it and talking about it in a safe, supportive environment is the best thing you can do. And I think for parents of children, male and female, I think that you empower them to know that, you know, they have support, unconditional support, and that they can come to you and talk to you about anything, and that if someone harms them, that they should immediately tell someone and not feel as though they're going to get in trouble, or that, you know, there's some punishment awaiting them. I think it's super important to communicate to your kids that yes, you're going to be a parent and you're going to discipline them and set rules and guidelines, but it doesn't mean that you're not there for them unconditionally, and that they should always feel as though if something has happened to them or something's not right, they can come to you, or even empower them to speak with an adult person who is supportive and safe. But I think it's okay for kids to have a voice and be able to speak up. But anyway, so it really resonated with me, her experience, and I was thinking to myself, there are many, many women and men that have similar experiences, and they're still carrying this around. And I just think that, you know, in this day and age, you know, people are speaking up more, and people are more empowered to talk about these things. And it's not pleasant and it doesn't feel good to talk about it, but once you start the process, the end result is worth it, meaning you're going to feel better, you're going to feel that you're not alone, you're going to feel supported, you're going to feel like, you know, I didn't deserve this, and this person was wrong to do this to me. And then you can begin to take back your power and not be held and bound by that trauma, by those feelings that certain words make you feel a certain unpleasant way, or certain music, or certain, you know, we call them triggers, right? Things trigger you. So I think that once you start to deal with it and you start to talk about it and you take control of your, you know, I call it recovery, because you've been through a traumatic experience, you know. We treat other types of things. Someone was medically ill, we would treat that, you know, in a very careful, respectful manner. But if someone is emotionally traumatized or mentally damaged, you know, we react differently, you know, because that's not something you can see externally, like a broken arm or someone under treatment for cancer. You can see that. But a person who's been sexually battered, you can't necessarily see it, you know, but you really probably do see it. You may see it in the form of someone who's reckless, someone who's abusing drugs, someone who can't keep a job, someone who can't maintain housing or take care of their kids, you know. So those are the ways that it may manifest, but people don't react the same way as someone who is medically unwell. You know, I think that we need to, you know, be supportive of our family members and of our friends. And yeah, I'm not saying that, oh, you necessarily want to be the sounding board for every friend or family member's traumatic experience, but you can say, wow, I'm sorry that happened to you, and there's a lot of support out there. Why don't you check out your local rape crisis center or a therapist and really get that unconditional support that you deserve? You can say, I can't be the person that can sit there and hear all this because it's hard for me to hear this. It hurts me. It upsets me. But there is someone out there that can listen to what you're saying and be supportive and give you what you need. But no one should ever go through life feeling like this is something that they just have to live with, something that they deserve, something that's never going to get better, because it is going to get better. Once you start talking about it and having that support and having that outlet and taking control, it is going to get better, and you are going to feel empowered. And that recovery is a process. If you've been holding on, people will say, oh, I don't believe in therapy. It doesn't work. I tried it and it didn't help me. Well, I always told my clients that, you've been carrying this trauma, this injury for 15 years, 20 years, going to therapy for 3 sessions, you're not going to feel better. Your treatment needs to continue, right? The process needs to continue. It takes time. It takes time. When I worked with survivors of domestic violence, I said, well, you were in that situation for 20 years, 15 years, 5 years. Just because you're out of that relationship, you don't instantly feel better. It's a recovery process. So the process means that it takes time. And, I think each and every single person should allow themselves that time to recover, to heal, right? I think that it's okay to have a professional help you as well as spiritual support. I am a believer. I do think that, having that spiritual, that I don't know how to verbalize it, but having that connection really makes a difference. I know that in my own life, having my true, deeply Christian spiritual beliefs helped me, and I think that using that in conjunction, with a professional, is a good idea. I think that whatever it takes for you to be better, to feel better, I should say, to start recovery, to deal with the trauma, you deserve it and owe it to yourself to do it. I think that we spend a lot of time working on exterior things, but we don't spend enough time on the interior, and I'm guilty of that myself. And I think that as we make this life's journey, we want to feel better, we want to be happy. And if a trauma like sexual assault is, something that's stopping you or that's in the way, you work on it. You work on it every single day. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You deserve to feel better. All right. And I wish Miss Treasie the best in her recovery. And I applaud her for sharing her story. And I know that other people will hear it and be impacted by it. I was impacted by her story, and I hope that this is an opportunity for women of color, women of all colors, to reach out and get support and feel empowered. And it's never okay. Abuse is never okay. Sexual abuse and all others. And I think that we as, people in this society need to speak up about it and not be so hush-hush about it. All right, thank you.